Hello guys, this is going to be a Deadly Lights tutorial. It's going to be a little bit different from the previous tutorials I've done. It's going to be, well, firstly I have my mic on, I'm going to be explaining all the stuff that's going on, but instead of editing a lot of different clips together, I'm just going to be doing it in one take. I've got a number of different YouTube clips up of different runs from the years, and I'm going to be explaining all the different strats that have been done in this particular invasion. I'm going to go pretty in depth in this, but yeah, this is what we're going to be doing today. And so to begin things off, the Deadly Lights is one of the longest invasions in the game. It currently is a third longest. The Quicksand and Mysterious Inflatable Island are a bit longer, but throughout the years it's been noted as one of the most difficult to get a good time on, especially getting either sub 30 or sub 29, or in this case a sub 28 as well, which has emerged in the last couple of months. This tutorial is hopefully going to give some good tips and just clear up everything as to how to be able to achieve these goals. And looking at it, it's not too difficult, so I'm sure a lot of people are able to achieve this. Just practice what I'm going to be explaining here and just give it a bit of time and you'll be able to nail it pretty well. So to begin, particular characters, who should you be playing as? And across the years there's been two characters that have been played with the most, Tinsy and Glowbox. I myself use Tinsy, but a lot of other people use Glowbox as well. The fastest character overall is Tinsy, and Tinsy is fastest because he can jump from chains a lot earlier than the other characters. And there are 3 chains that I use when playing this that I have to grab on. Most players, there's 4. There's a skip I found to skip one of these chains, and Tinsy is good for being able to jump off these chains a lot earlier. And Glowbox and other characters lose a bit more time. However, Tinsy is a harder character to play as, in my opinion at least. There are some little strats, especially the last ground pound, the corner ground pound, which is a lot harder to perform with Tinsy. And that's why Glowbox is also quite a valid character to use as well. Glowbox is probably the easiest character to play as. He's very generous for a major skid boost found midway in the level, and it's also pretty easy to perform the ground pound at the end. So this character was used a lot as well during the high to mid 28 range. It's not really used much now, but that's probably the easiest character. And also my most recent run, the 27.56, actually used Princess, so I'll be discussing why I used Princess in this run as well. They're a little bit weird, a little bit unorthodox, but I've got my reasons behind it. But overall, Tinsy is the best choice, and if you're going for a really good time, go Tinsy. If you're going for a sub 30 or sub 29, just stick with Glowbox. It's more than doable to achieve that particular goal. Alright, so to begin things off, I've got 6 runs which we are going to be looking at. I've got my 27.56, which I got a couple of days ago. It is a current world record. I've got my 27.89 from July. This was a former world record held for a couple of months. Then I've got Red Pabilio's 28.29, or not Red Pabilio, so Red Pablilo. So this was set a couple of days ago, a little bit after my 27.56. Fantastic run. We're going to be looking at that. There's a couple of interesting points to make here. Then we've got Fenati Noggy PL's 27.47 from early 2017, which was the last world record set with Glowbox, and a fantastic run as that. Really optimized with the strats used. We used a couple of outdated strats, but nevertheless there are points that we can make about this. And then we've got Illusion's 28.98, the first ever sub 29 from early 2016, a long time ago now. And there's a couple of details I make about this as well. And then finally, we've got my 29.61 from all the way in December of 2015. Quite a long time ago, nearly 3 years ago now. I won't talk about this one much, but there's a couple of things here which may be noteworthy. So, okay, let's begin. So, opening the run, this is how it looks. This is how I perform the start. However, there's a little bit to talk about here. So, the start itself, at least what I do here, hasn't changed at all from the last 4 years or so. However, Red Pablillo has found a new strat for this, which I will show. But what I do here is that I perform a dash, then I do a neutral jump here, and then perform another dash and land right before this purple enemy here. And you can kind of do this a little bit, you kind of do this in a couple of different ways. It's pretty generous. I like to extend my first dash quite a bit, but other players like to, as I'll see in Fnati's run, Fnati here does a much shorter dash starting, and it means he lands on this bit a little bit faster. But if you compare to where I land further up. It's like over here. And this is just personal preference, really. All that matters is if you land right before this enemy right here. And the Red Pablillo stat, the Red Pablillo start, I'll show here. This was found about a week ago now, and he does a back kick YBY double jump and lands right on the corner here, and then attacks this platform to be able to dash immediately. And this is faster. He estimates it's faster by about 0.1. I don't think it's that much faster. I think maybe a little bit slower than that, but it is faster. However, I wouldn't recommend doing this starting off because it is inconsistent, and you kind of need a really fast jump at the start to be able to hit this corner, as well as this particular attack here is a little bit inconsistent. So I wouldn't recommend doing this. Like, I haven't even done this in my world record run. I will eventually, but at the moment just stick with the main strat here for starting up. Now, entering this particular enemy right here, there's two main ways of doing this. The way that I do this is that I do 2 dashes and then I don't hold anything falling off here. So I fall off and then I hold down, landing on this box, and then I land down and then do a neutral jump, then 2 small jumps, and then land on these enemies here. And this is the most popular method for doing this. Just a tip for doing this: don't dash immediately. I always like to wait maybe a frame or 2 before dashing. If we can slow this down a bit, you may be able to see it. So you have a couple of frames of waiting there. A bit hard to notice, but it's kind of by feel. That's what I recommend doing. You can get this bit a lot more consistently if you do that. However, there is a different way of starting. If we see here, Fnati does a YBY and then slides down. A lot of people say this is, or not a lot of people, but a couple of people say this is a faster method to start. I don't think it's that much faster. I wouldn't fret about it. Just do what you find easiest. I personally find doing this start to be the best for me. Either way, you want to have enough speed to have 2 clear roll jumps to get past, to vault over this little bit here. That's the important bit. Okay, next bit. Just see if yep, I've covered everything here. Now, the next bit here is, so just dash through. In my 27.89 I actually did a YB. Oh no, that's a different run, sorry. So perform a dash, wall jump, You may have to hold onto this wall a little bit. That's alright, just make sure that you get 2 quite clean wall jumps across. Don't hit this little bit of the wall here as well, because that loses a bit of time. And now we move on to the hover. And ideally you want to hover as early as possible. And the reason is that if you hover earlier, it means that you generally have no vertical speed going down. And it means that you'll build up more speed landing to the ground, and then you'll be able to hit this ground earlier, because you're moving towards it faster. And if we compare this over here to what I did in this video, I hover a lot later, like around here. You generally want to hover around here. So where my mouse is at currently, that's where you want to hover. Okay, so now we move on from here. Perform just a large spin dash. That's fine. Now this chain, this is where the character differences start to play. So, as I said before, Tinsy can jump from chains earlier. And that means that with this particular chain, if you see clearly, like what I do here, if I slow it down, I attack a couple of frames before I land on this little block here. And I do this because otherwise I won't get enough height to actually jump to this ledge. I'll fall short and I'll grab the ledge. I want to actually jump over it. And this is not necessary with Tinsy, as I'll show here. So if we move back here, I didn't attack with Tinsy because since Tinsy can jump faster from chains, I can make this jump absolutely fine. And this is a very slight reason why Tinsy is faster. It saves a little bit of time going Tinsy, I'm pretty sure, but it's not really noticeable at all. And this is not the only way of entering this chain. If we check out how Robert Illusions enters this chain, if we go here, he does a small jump and then it dashes through this enemy and then does it this way. This is another method. As you can also see that instead of jumping across over like I do here, like that, I'll speed it up again, he actually clips the ledge like that. That's fine. You can start the skid boost earlier, but preferably you want to jump over it because it means that this enemy, since you'll be further to the right, you can dash earlier and be able to perform your skid boost earlier, essentially. Alright. So that's how you perform this particular chain. Also, if you're like Fnatty, Fnatty here, it seems like he's doing what I did with Tinsy, but he holds the chain a little bit longer, and that's just a very slight. Don't worry about this, just make sure that the characters actually do have to approach this chain slightly differently, and you can approach it in different ways. Now, this next bit is quite important. This is a major skid boost that was found around the start of 2016, and this is what made Sub 29 originally possible. It's this particular strat here. Now that may look a little bit daunting at first, but I'll go through exactly what I did here. So I land here, and then I perform a skid boost, and there's a slight character difference here as well. Princess allows you to dash. Princess's dashes, spin dashes, have a larger hitbox, and it means I'm able to perform my skid boost earlier. And this is one reason why I went with Princess for this run. However, on the grand scheme of things, it's not enough to save enough time over Tinsy. So I perform a skid boost, then I perform a small jump. I hit this section of the ceiling here, and then I perform a frame spin. It doesn't need to be a frame spin, but I would greatly advise going for a frame spin here. And then I dash through these enemies. Sorry. So I dash through these enemies and I perform a small jump, and then I'm on my merry way. And this skid boost is there are different ways of doing this, and the original way of doing it is, if you see here, is to do it like that. And this is why Glowbox was used originally, because to perform the skid boost, because it was originally done as a skid boost YBY, which is performing a skid boost, then following it with a YBY. And with a second attack, if you see here, if I slow it down, so he performs a YBY, then he attacks again. And the reason he attacks again is that this attack allows him to get through these enemies, but without breaking his skid boost. And this strat is possible with all characters, even Tinsy, which is often very strict with getting the second attack. However, Glowbox is far more lenient with getting this, and that's why Glowbox was used a lot. However, it was found that performing a dash through the enemies like that was also possible and was faster. So this became the main method. This is a major method of doing it now, the most popular. And the top 4 runs all do it this way. So I would recommend learning it this way, because it means that you're not bound to just playing with Glowbox. But if you think that doing a YBY like this is easier, go right ahead. Sub 28 is not sub 28. Sub 29 is still more than doable doing it this way. And if we compare here as well, now this was a lot shittier than the one that here, because I performed my jump earlier and I didn't perform a frame spin, so my dash went through the enemies, but you can see where I land. If you slow it down, I barely make it here. Well, in this particular clip, I've got a lot more space. Like, my jump is a lot further along, and you can perform it like this way, but this was considerably slow if you compare it to the speed I have going past here. So this shows that a frame spin here is really good. I would recommend trying to practice this, but it's not necessary, because I had this in my run and it was still a sub 28, so yeah. And here as well, this is Fnati doing it. Now that's extremely fast. You normally don't get a skid boost that fast. I've got a skid boost a bit faster than that a couple of times, but this is usually as fast as you can get it. But more importantly, his exit. So now we're going to move on after the skid boost to the exit after the skid boost. And so here he does a small jump. So he extends his spin dash off the ledge here. So he jumps a little bit after. Yeah, so you can see that he jumps around here. That was a perfect pause. So he jumps around here, and it means that he can make the jump with just a small jump. If you compare it to what I was doing in my run, I don't need to change the speed. I jump a lot earlier, so if we take it back a bit, I jump all the way back here, and I do a large jump instead, and it essentially gives the same results, except Fnati lands a lot lower down on the wall than what I do. And here, if we compare it to what I did in my 2789, I do the same thing, but since my speed isn't as good, I land sort of at the same height that Finati does. And then if we continue here, this is another, since it's a chain again, this is where another character difference comes in. So, the reason why I wanted a lot of height entering this section is I don't need all of this height. Like, even with the speed, I can dash lower down, but I attack quite high up from these walls, and then it means that I can wall jump really high up. And the reason why I do it this way is that with Princess, since I jump from chains later, this jump is a lot harder to make when you're further down. It's possible, it's kind of possible, but you can't jump immediately from the chain. Well, if you compare it to what I do with Tinsy, I can make that jump absolutely fine. And if we compare it to Finati, you can see Finati jumps a lot later from the chain. And this isn't this is a little bit nitpicky, but at here you don't have to worry about this jump too much, but just remember that this jump is a little bit more difficult when playing with a character like Princess or Glowbox. We can check what Illusions does as well, or Robert. Robert does pretty much the same thing I do here. He lands high up on the chain and then just does a jump instantly after. Right. So what's next? So now this is the next big strat. This is what made the sub 28 possible, is this. Now that looks a little bit screwed if you don't know what you're doing here. This is the strat that allowed me to get a mid 27. But this YBY up setup was originally done by, I don't know when exactly it was found, but the first world record to use it was with Domwolf's 2824. And for this he did this particular setup, which is a lot nicer to the eyes. Here he essentially just does, here you just do a ground pound YBY, which is what I recommend going for. I got a sub 28 doing this, and I'm sure many other players can too doing this. So you perform a large spin dash entering this particular section, then when you want to land as close to the corner as possible. You can land more tightly towards the edge, but this was alright. Then when you land, you perform a ground pound on the ground, and then YBY up to the right, and then perform a jump afterwards. So it'll look kind of like this in slow motion, and you can see the jump I do, the extra jump. If we go back a bit, that's the extra jump there, and that means I can get enough height to grab onto this ledge. Now if we compare it to what I do here, this is a different setup. This was a harder setup. This is an up attack, YBY up. So here, I attack the air instead of landing down, and then I attack the air again before landing, and I land on this corner. And doing this attack in the air means that I can YBY up almost instantly after landing. So, and then I just do the same jump again afterwards. Now this is, a lot of people struggle with this YBY up. I'm pretty good at it, so this is a strat I'm going for now. But I wouldn't recommend this at all if you're just going for a sub 29 or sub 30. This should be the last thing you should try and implement in your run. Now, another detail about this as well is the ledge grab following. Because here, my ledge grab is pretty fast. However, this ledge grab can actually be pretty difficult to get sometimes. Difficult to get fast at least. And you'll want a fast ledge grab because oftentimes your ledge grab can be quite slow. And the reason why it's slow, or at least why I think it's slow, is that you attack too high up. So if you slow this down again, oh shit. So if we slow this down, God, think about doing these tutorials in one take. If we slow it down, you see I attack quite low, so I'm not even up. My character isn't even anywhere near above the ledge, and my sword here isn't even next to the actual platform. So I'm attacking quite low, and attacking quite low actually allows you to get the fast ledge grab or the fast grab. If we compare it here as well, alright, look at that. Look how low I attack the ledge here. That's as low as you can expect, and I still managed to climb up. If you attack high to grab the ledge, you'll not get a fast ledge grab like I do here. So that's important. Also, what's important, this glowbox loses time. I forgot to mention this as well, but when performing the ground pound YB go for Tinsy, because Tinsy can do this really fast. These characters, Princess and Glowbox, can't do it as fast. That's why I used Princess to do this particular setup, because doing the up kick break boost, up kick YBY up setup, isn't. The characters all perform at around the same speed. And following this ledge grab, Glowbox actually performs this slower. So that's why that's one reason why I used Princess here instead of going to Glowbox, is because I can perform this ledge grab the same speed as I can do it with Tinsy. So this bit is quite difficult, but there is an easier way to do this bit, obviously. And God, this tutorial is long, up to 27 minutes already. So this is how Fnati does it. Oh, actually, I'll go back to here. I'm just going to talk about this next bit here as well, because this is annoying. This annoys me, but when you perform this YB-wire, you can't perform a spin dash, a spin jump, a small spin jump to get under the enemies that we used to be able to do. Instead, you have to do this stupid bit here, which is you have to dash in the air, do a large jump, then turn around, and then attack the enemies, and then attack on the hill to be able to perform a skid boost afterwards. The reason why we have to do this is otherwise, if we just try and perform a small spin jump underneath, we'll get hit. And there's no real way we can avoid this. Fnati says we can, but I'm never had any success doing this. But you never know, there may be a particular method for performing this. Alright. And I do it pretty slowly here. If you compare it to what I do here, that's considerably faster. And if we compare it to what Red Pabilia does here, that's him performing this strat. Now this was done really quick as well. So that's probably one of the biggest areas I can improve in my run currently. But just when you attack, just make sure you cut it quite close to the fire, and don't try and land around here when on the hill. You can go a little bit further down, but don't go like all the way down here, because it means you leave a little bit less space for performing the skid boost following. So now we'll move on to this next. This is the old strat that was used. So if we see here, this is a lot easier. So here Fnati, let's stop recording. Here Fnati performs a large spin jump, lands on this little ledge here, and then roll jumps up the wall, hugs the wall for a bit to slide up. If we slow it down, and then performs another wall jump. And this is a little bit weird, but essentially this particular bit here and this particular bit are two different objects, and this particular gap means that when Fnati is landing on this wall, he can actually perform a wall jump forwards instead of having to wall jump back. And this wall jump forwards means that he can land on this particular platform just really quickly, instead of having to wall jump the back here and then wall jumping forward here. And this particular method is way easier, but it is slower. However, as seen here, you can still easily get a sub 29 doing this method. So following this, Fnati does a small jump and then attacks these enemies and then skip boost afterwards. Now you don't have to do this particular setup he does here. You can do the setup that I did in my run here, where I attack the ground and then skid boost following. I would recommend doing this, it's a lot easier, but you can do how Fnati does here. Or alternatively, this is the original way of doing this. You dash off here, and then you perform a small jump, go under the enemies, and then perform the skid boost. Now you may be wondering, oh, I just said before you can't go under these enemies, but you can, except it has to be a roll jump. And the reason why it has to be a roll jump is because when performing a roll jump, your hitbox in the air is actually a little bit smaller than when performing a spin dash, and this little difference allows you to go under like this. And unfortunately, in this particular case, there's just not there's just not enough room to be able to perform a roll jump to get under like this. This is the best method we have. So the skid boost following, pretty straightforward. Just you can't extend it too long, but make sure you extend it enough so it's not really slow. If you can see how slow I do it here, this is terrible. This is terrible. Don't do that. That was very slow. Try and do it as fast as possible and as close to the fire. That wasn't even that good either. This is done pretty much perfectly. That's the speed you kind of want to get if you compare it to like what Fnati does here. So you don't want your skid boost here to be perfect, because otherwise you'll hit the fire. However, you want it to be slow enough. You still want it to be pretty fast, just to carry enough speed into the next section as well. And the speed here, now here's another strat that's been introduced semi-recently. Probably I introduced it when I got my 2799, the first sub 28. Just a bit more water. So this actually isn't wasn't originally done by me. This was done first by Ben Leroy in around December of 2015, except it wasn't really acknowledged, and it got ignored. However, a couple of months ago I did remember that it exists, and I went for it, and it allowed me to get this sub 28. And essentially what you want to do is you want to YBY up to the second chain, skipping the first. And this was going back as to what I said before about 3-4 chains, because the original method here uses both chains. Here I skip one of them, so in total I only have to deal with 3 chains. Now this YBY up, this is why Tinsy is a lot easier in this regard, because since Tinsy can jump from chains earlier, it means that this jump from this chain is a lot more generous with Tinsy. It's possible with other characters, obviously, as I do it with Princess, but if you compare it to me doing with Tinsy, you can see how much faster I can jump from the chain, and just how much more space I have. If we compare here, I have to hold on to the chain a bit, and then I still barely make the cut. And this is the most difficult component of this invasion when playing with another character other than Tinsy. However, this YBY up, is quite technical. Haven't gone to the hard bit, The hard bit about this is your timing. And then you can see here that you got a little, the ledge, the ground juts up a bit. You see this little hill here, and when performing the YBY up, you don't want to hit this hill. If you hit this hill, the height you'll get will be a lot lower. And if you see where I jump around here there, so I don't hit this hill. I get very close to it, and I get very close to hitting the chain on the left, but if you time it right, you can make this cut. And this is necessary for a character like Princess, because if you don't get enough height, you'll grab the ledge here, and you just won't make the wall. It's a little bit more generous with Tinsy, so I do have the same timing with Tinsy as well, because I think I do it a little bit better with Tinsy. Okay, so if you slow it down a bit. Yeah, this is a lot cleaner with Tinsy. So I YBY up clearly before hitting this ledge. Now let's see, I want to see if Red Pabilio, when he does his YBY up. He's the only other player I'm pretty sure apart from Banuz and I. Okay, he does it alright here. That's fine. But you can see he's a lot lower entering the chain. So he grabs the chain around here. If we compare what I do here, I grab the chain further up. And this means that Red Peblillo, I keep on pronouncing your name wrong, sorry, has to hold on to the chain a bit, just like I did with Princess. And this is not something you want to have to do with Tinsy, because you can jump immediately from the chain, and it does save a good amount of time. And you can also jump immediately from the chain with Princess or Glowbox, except it is a lot harder, and I would not recommend trying to do it. So this YBY up in general is quite difficult. It is a difficult strat, but if you can get the timing right, like here, you'll be firing on all cylinders. It is a really good strat. And actually, we can look at the speed. Let's see how fast his skid boost is. So his skid boost wasn't as fast as the one I did here. My skid boost was a little bit faster, and that's why I got more height. So the faster the skid boost you get, the more height you get. It's a YBY up, and that's why when performing this particular strat, especially with either Tinsy or Glowbox, you want to get as fast a skid boost as possible. And there is an alternative to this strat as well, as seen here. You can just jump from these two chains, except it's a little bit slower, but you can still get a comfortable sub 29 doing it this way. It's a little bit tight with Glowbox, as you can see here. Fnati barely clips onto the ledge. Here, this is doing it with Tinsy. You can see it's a lot more generous. And it's so generous, in fact, I managed to just do a small jump at the end. If we compare, let's see how well Robert does this. Yep. So he does 2 large jumps. Here I do a large and then a small. So large, small. And if we compare Fnati as well, large, that was a small as well. So it is generally a lot tighter to perform this with Glowbox and Princess. And that's really the best way Tinsy saves time, is in that certain section. However, now we're onto the section where Tinsy sucks ass, and it's at this corner ground pound, as you see there. Now, for some reason, this particular corner ground pound is way harder with Tinsy, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the way he ground pounds compared to the other characters. And this is the reason why I wanted to play Princess for this new record, because I had a number of bad fails with Tinsy because of this ground pound here. And it's all because, yeah, this ground pound, this corner ground pound, it is doable with Tinsy, except it's a lot harder to do. And oftentimes you'll get a flop going down, and the flop isn't too bad, but it does lose time, and it is better off, as demonstrated here, to pick a character that you know can get a comfortable ground pound with, a comfortable corner ground pound with. And also, this ground pound can vary. As you can see here, this ground pound I land about here. I land there. With Tinsy, this is my 2789. I land around there. So, and if we compare it to Fnati Nogi lands all the way around here. So he already is landing midway in between this little tunnel here. So this ground pound can vary quite a bit, and more often than not, you will get a worse corner ground pound with Tinsy. Now that's why Tinsy, I would regard him as the hardest character, and the other characters like playing with Glowbox or Princess is easier because you can get this corner ground pound a lot more consistently. And following this bit, there's the break boost. Pretty straightforward. Perform a ground pound break boost. Large jump. With this particular spin dash, don't need to do a frame spin. I didn't do a frame spin in my run. You can, but after performing all the other tech, you don't. It's not something I recommend going for. And this jump as well, I do a small jump. If you can see what Fnati does, he does a large jump. It doesn't really matter, they're both the same time. I prefer doing a small jump because I feel like I often going to get hit by this crate. But I always nearly get hit by the crate on the way out. And just make sure you don't get hit by this crate. That's the only thing that can really stuff up, as well as stuffing up the dash at the end. That's possible as well, and it's kind of unfortunate when that happens. Now just perform it like that, and you'll be able to end your run. And that's all of the tech pretty much in this invasion, the Deadly Lights. So it is quite an in-depth invasion, and there is a lot going on, a lot of different ways of performing different strats. And I forgot to say also, this is just clearing up particular details that I missed. This is in my 2961. This is how I did the skid boost section without even doing a skid boost. You can do it like this, but don't. There is no reason to do it like this, unless you can get a sub 30 doing this, but nobody really goes for sub 30 these days as well. Go for a sub 29, it's a lot better. Okay. So this was the tutorial. This a little bit different to what I've been doing. A lot rougher. I hope it was of acceptable quality as well. I went quite in depth with everything here, I'm pretty sure. Hopefully the character differences get explained as well. So generally play either with Glowbox or Tinsy. Princess was more of a one-off kind of experiment kind of thing. You can play with Princess if you want, but only really under the tech I'm doing currently is it worthwhile. If it's any other tech you're doing, it's not really worthwhile doing it. Yeah, if there's any other questions you may have with this invasion, feel free to comment what it is. I'll try and explain it, but I think I went through all of this as thoroughly as needed. So it is a long tutorial, hopefully, but I will break it down in the description as well. I hope this helps. I want to see more players getting sub 30s, sub 29s, maybe even sub 28s. I know Red Pablillo can definitely do it. I know Fnati Nogi can do it. I know Dom Wolf can do it. And I know many other players can do it. So I hope I see many other times like this in the future. Thank you guys for listening. See ya.